The voice slid to a slight, expectant pause. "Mr. Reardon?" "I'm listening." "I can't tell you how sorry we are to have caused you any embarrassment or inconvenience, and with all those damn formalities that we have to go through, you know how it is, red tape. It will take a few days, perhaps a week, to deprocess that order and to lift the attachment." "Mr. Reardon?" "I heard you." "We're desperately sorry, and ready to make any amends within our power. You will, of course, be entitled to claim damages for any inconvenience this might cause you, and we are prepared to pay. We won't contest it. You will, of course, file such a claim, and—" "I've not said that." No, you haven't. That is— Well, what have you said, Mr. Reardon?" "I have said nothing." Late on the next afternoon, another voice came pleading from Washington. This one did not seem to slide, but to bounce on the telephone wire with the gay virtuosity of a tightrope walker. It introduced itself as Tinky Holloway, and pleaded that Reardon attend a conference. An informal little conference, just a few of us, the top-level few, to be held in New York at the Wayne Falkland Hotel day after next. "There have been so many misunderstandings in the past few weeks," said Tinky Holloway. "Such unfortunate misunderstandings, and so unnecessary. We could straighten everything out in a jiffy, Mr. Reardon, if we had a chance to have a little talk with you. We're extremely anxious to see you." "You can issue a subpoena for me any time you wish." "Oh, no, no, no!" The voice sounded frightened. "No, Mr. Reardon, why think of such things? You don't understand us. We're anxious to meet you on a friendly basis. We're seeking nothing but your voluntary cooperation." Holloway paused tensely, wondering whether he had heard the faint sound of a distant chuckle. He waited, but heard nothing else. "Mr. Reardon?" "Yes." "Surely, Mr. Reardon, at a time like this, a conference with us could be to your great advantage." "A conference about what?" "You've encountered so many difficulties, and we're anxious to help you in any way we can." "I have not asked for help." "These are precarious times, Mr. Reardon. The public mood is so uncertain and inflammatory, so dangerous, and we want to be able to protect you." "I've not asked for protection." "But surely you realize that we're in a position to be of value to you, and if there's anything you want from us, any—" "There isn't." "But you must have problems you'd like to discuss with us." "I haven't." "Then—" "Well, then—" Giving up the attempt at the play of granting a favor, Holloway switched to an open plea. "Then won't you just give us a hearing?" "If you have anything to say to me." "We have, Mr. Reardon, we certainly have. That's all we're asking for, a hearing. Just give us a chance. Just come to this conference. You wouldn't be committing yourself to anything." He said it involuntarily, and stopped, hearing a bright, mocking stab of life in Reardon's voice, an unpromising sound, as Reardon answered, "I know it." "Well, I mean, that is— Well, then, will you come?" "All right," said Reardon. "I'll come." He did not listen to Holloway's assurances of gratitude. He noted only that Holloway kept repeating, "At 7 p.m., November 4th, Mr. Reardon. November 4th," as if the date had some special significance. Reardon dropped the receiver and lay back in his chair, looking at the glow of furnace flames on the ceiling of his office. He knew that the conference was a trap. He knew also that he was walking into it with nothing for any trappers to gain. Tinky Holloway dropped the receiver in his Washington office and sat up tensely, frowning. Claude Slagenhop, president of Friends of Global Progress, who had sat in an armchair, nervously chewing a matchstick, glanced up at him and asked, "Not so good?" Holloway shook his head. "He'll come, but no, not so good." He added, "I don't think he'll take it." "That's what my punk told me." "I know." "The punk said we'd better not try it." "God damn your punk, we've got to. We'll have to risk it." The punk was Philip Reardon, who weeks ago had reported to Claude Slagenhop, "No, he won't let me in. He won't give me a job. I've tried as you wanted me to. I've tried my best, but it's no use. He won't let me set foot inside his mills. And as to his frame of mind, listen, it's bad. It's worse than anything I expected. I know him, and I can tell you that you won't have a chance. He's pretty much at the end of his rope. One more squeeze will snap it." You said the big boys wanted to know. Tell them not to do it. Tell them he... Claude, God help us, if they do it, they'll lose him. Well, you're not of much help, Slagenhop had said dryly, turning away. Philip had seized his sleeve and asked, his voice shrinking suddenly into open anxiety. Say, Claude, according to Directive 10-289, if he goes, there's to be no heirs. That's right. They'd seize the mills and everything. That's the law. But, Claude, they wouldn't do that to me, would they? They don't want him to go, you know that. Hold him if you can. But I can't. You know I can't because of my political ideas. And it seemed to him that there was a touch of tension in the air of the mills that day. It was a touch too slight to define. But the mills to him were like the face of a loved wife, where he could catch shades of feeling almost ahead of expression. He noticed small clusters of the new workers, just 3 or 4 of them huddling together in conversation, once or twice too often. He noticed their manner, a manner suggesting a pool-room corner, not a factory. He noticed a few glances thrown at him as he went by, glances a shade too pointed and lingering. He dismissed it. It was not quite enough to wonder about, and he had no time to wonder. When he drove up to his former home that afternoon, he stopped his car abruptly at the foot of the hill. He had not seen the house since that May 15th, 6 months ago, when he had walked out of it, and the sight brought back to him the sum of all he had felt in 10 years of daily homecoming. The strain, the bewilderment, the gray weight of unconfessed unhappiness, the stern endurance that forbade him to confess it, the desperate innocence of the effort to understand his family, the effort to be just. He walked slowly up the path toward the door. He felt no emotion, only the sense of a great solemn clarity. He knew that this house was a monument of guilt, of his guilt toward himself. He had expected to see his mother and Philip. He had not expected the third person who rose, as they did, at his entrance into the living room. It was Lillian. He stopped on the threshold. They stood looking at his face and at the open door behind him. Their faces had a look of fear and cunning, the look of that blackmail through virtue which he had learned to understand, as if they hoped to get away with it by means of nothing but his pity, to hold him trapped when a single step back could take him out of their reach. They had counted on his pity and dreaded his anger. They had not dared consider the third alternative, his indifference. "What is she doing here?" he asked, turning to his mother, his voice dispassionately flat. "Lillian's been living here ever since your divorce," she answered defensively. "I couldn't let her starve on the city pavements, could I?" The look in his mother's eyes was half plea, as if she were begging him not to slap her face, half triumph, as if she had slapped his. He knew her motive. It was not compassion. There had never been much love between Lillian and her. It was their common revenge against him. It was the secret satisfaction of spending his money on the ex-wife he had refused to support. Lillian's head was poised to bow in greeting, with the tentative hint of a smile on her lips, half timid, half brash. He did not pretend to ignore her. He looked at her, as if he were seeing her fully, yet as if no presence were being registered in his mind. He said nothing, closed the door, and stepped into the room.